Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Manjiri Narkarni live from my clinic. So, another session of Wellness Wednesday. I would love to welcome you all. And this entire month, we're talking all about psychonutrition. So, for today, I just want to make sure all my volume is good. For today, we are going to talk about antidepressant foods. I'm going to include a lot of these foods from an Ayurvedic perspective, right? So, to get started, depression from an Ayurvedic perspective is an aggravation or increase in the qualities of tamas, right? Tamas can be understood as inertia. Tamas can be understood as, you feel like you're drowning in darkness, you don't want to do anything. There is lack of zest, there is lack of different activities, right? So, this is similar to what's seen as depression um, throughout different literature in ayurveda. You can understand depression as avsad or vishad. There are different terminology given, but the idea is that a lot of the activities are seized. You absolutely feel bogged down, you feel very lethargic, you feel bogged down mentally. You lose interest in life, you feel everything is pointless, worthless, and eventually, if this is not treated, there could be chances of suicidal thoughts as well. So depression is something that should be taken seriously, right? So now when we are looking at recovery, when from depression, definitely you could be taking some herbs or you could be taking medication depending on whatever your requirements are. But it is also really necessary to create an antidepressant dietary plan, right? Just as last week I mentioned about an anti-anxiety plan, so you should also have foods in your pantry that are going to help support your journey against depression. And those are exactly the 10 foods we're going to talk about today, right? So if you are watching this, say a quick hi. If you are um, what, uh, going to do a review later, you can leave some messages here as well. So again, welcome to the Wellness Wednesday. Let's get started. So the number one thing to understand here is, from an Ayurvedic perspective, because we have talked about depression, which relates to this excess of tamas, right? Um, to increase the rajas quality would be a good idea, and simplest things that are going to help cut this excess tamas is going to be spices, right? So a lot of different spices are going to show up on my list today for the antidepressant diet, and one of the best ones is saffron. So, how many of you have had saffron in your daily diet? I'm not sure. Saffron has been studied, and it actually works similar to different levels of antidepressant medication. So, that has been the study, and it actually helps by modulating the neurochemicals in the brain, like serotonin, right? So, serotonin is your happy hormone, and if you are lacking this happy hormone or happy neurotransmitter, that's when you will see that you are struggling with um, depression. So saffron has almost 150 volatile and non-volatile compounds, and 50 of these, especially the saffronol, crocin, pacocrocin, which are responsible for its aroma and better taste as well. So they are found to have a really good effect on depression, right? So if you are someone who's struggling with depression, one thing you can do is add more saffron to your diet. Saffron milk is a really good idea. You can add saffron to any of the rice dishes that you cook. Saffron goes really well with anything that's very mild, like rice. You can add it to your milk, almond milk. So that is another idea. Usually, traditionally in India, we will add saffron to a lot of the sweets, right, where it helps with digestion. I'm just going to look at a quick question. So Pranav is asking me, do I practice in London? Are you asking about London, Ontario, or are you asking about London, UK? So I do practice in Sarnia, as in my clinic is located in Sarnia, Ontario. I do see clients in London, Ontario. I have also had a few clients that I've seen virtually who are in London, UK, right? So I do have an in-person practice, but I also have a virtual practice where no matter where in the world you live, as long as you have like a laptop, Zoom, video calls, we can arrange for that, right? So feel free to message me if you need more information, and we'll talk about that later. So going back to the antidepressant foods, so the number one that I really like is saffron. The second one that I really like is cloves, right? So I think cloves are great as foods, and cloves are also something that is not much appreciated. We talk about cinnamon as a spice, we talk about different foods as beneficial, right? But cloves can also be used, especially clove oil. They have done studies where there are different chemicals in cloves as well, phytochemicals. Example is eugenol. And cloves have also been studied, especially in a lot of animal studies, to reduce depression, right? So adding some cloves, simplest way is to add it to your tea, right? You can also add it to your dals or lentils when you're cooking it. If you are somebody who has a lot of meat based food, something like meat pies have cloves, you could do like a spice tea. You can avoid the black tea, but simply add all the spices and make like a chai kind of a spice, and that would give you your share of cloves, right? Now the third one that I really love is rosemary. Rosemary is another fantastic herb. It has the potential to activate any other herbs it works with, right? And rosemary from the ancient times has been known to be a herb that works with the mind and the healing, and it has been used for memory as well as focus. It has also been used for generations and depression. So this third herb or spice that you can use in your food is rosemary. Rosemary, you can simply add the spice when you're cooking any food, especially like potatoes, sweet potatoes. Rosemary would go really well with, right? The fourth one is something very common that we all use nowadays, we all love, that's turmeric. So turmeric, whether we talk about anxiety, whether we talk about depression, whether we talk about brain associated inflammation, right? So turmeric not only helps you lower the inflammatory cell chemicals in your entire body, but turmeric has also been seen to lower the inflammation in the brain, and thus it has been fantastic in management of different conditions related to your brain, whether it's cognitive function or whether it's your mood. And turmeric has been seen to work with Alzheimer's. It has been seen to work with depression as well, right? So four of these are my favorite herbs. The fifth one is another herb that I use a lot, and this is more like a root, and that is ginger, right? So when you look at different studies, ginger has been used to treat nausea for centuries, help with digestion for centuries. Now, ginger also is something that is high in antioxidants, right? So, even in your brain and your entire body, it is going to lower this inflammation, it is going to combat the oxidants, and it is going to safeguard your neurons, and it is going to lower this neuroinflammation, right? So, turmeric and ginger are both anti inflammatory. They also work on your brain by reducing the inflammation, and thus they have antidepressant potential. So making sure that you are adding a lot of spices in your diet, especially if you are struggling with depression, is going to be the key. Now, the next one is when we talk about nuts, there is a specific one called Brazil nut. Brazil nut works extremely well. We have talked about walnuts and almonds when we talked about anxiety last week. Brazil nuts have good amounts of selenium, which is also a mineral that is an antioxidant. And this selenium, as well as Brazil nuts, have been seen to reduce depression. So that is the sixth one, right? Now, the seventh one is something that each of us really, really like, and that is chocolate, right? So when we talk about chocolate or when we talk about cocoa beans, right? I'm not talking about milk chocolate here. So the power of the chocolate or the benefits of the chocolate, right, come from cocoa beans, and they have flavonoids. So flavonoids are some of the most powerful antioxidants that will be found in plants, right? So these are plant nutrients, and there are studies done where it can improve the mood, right? And higher flavonoid consumption, whether you are having flavonoids from apples or citrus, different kind of berries are rich in flavonoids as well. They will lower your chances of depression, right? So chocolate, dark chocolate, 100% mood building, and that is why whenever you feel a low, right, you automatically will start craving chocolate, not just for the magnesium but also the flavonoids. And chocolate is a common mood buster. Just don't go for the milk chocolate, go for the dark chocolate, right? So that was my number 7. Now number 8 is something that everyone should start including in the diet, right? So carrots are, I know a lot of people say that, oh, they're very starchy, they're very starchy, right? But then you're also having a lot of potatoes here. But carrots, especially when you have carrots, you're getting a lot of beta carotene. Beta carotene in the body will then convert into vitamin A. So it will help you if you are struggling with any kind of vitamin A. They're fantastic for your skin. Carrots are also really beneficial to your hormones. And carrots, the carotenoids are also really good at warding off depression, right? So making sure that you have lots of carrots in your diet. If you hate carrots, something else you could have is any kind of squashes or sweet potatoes as well, right? But carrots, one of my favorite dishes is where I will grate some carrots, and I will also add, a lot of spices there, something like cinnamon, and make like a nice salad. I serve it with raisins, and I absolutely love that salad, right? Another thing is gajar halwa, or carrot halwa. If you have tried it, just don't add too much of dairy, just don't make it too heavy, but that can really uplift your mood, right? And don't add too much sugar. So that's the one thing when you're making like carrot halwa. So occasionally that's fine, but carrots, you can have it on a regular basis. You can roast it, you can have it as a side. You can definitely, snack on some carrots instead of, having any kind of chips. If you're craving that crunch, carrots are going to be fantastic, not just for your eyes but also your brain function, and also prevent depression, right? So that was number 8. Now, number 9 is turkey. So when we look at foods, there are certain foods that are high in tryptophan, one of which is seen to be turkey, right? So tryptophan can then help with serotonin levels, and that is why having turkey, instead of having a lot of red meat or having chicken, maybe switch over to turkey. You will also notice that you're sleeping better because it relaxes you and it helps you fight depression as well. The other two are going to be oysters and clams, right? So, oysters and clams, a lot of seafood is rich in zinc, and especially having good amounts of this zinc, is going to support your brain. Now, again, clams, mussels, as well as oysters, they have B12, right? And they also are going to support your B12 needs, right? So if you lack B12, it doesn't make a substance, we call it SAMe or SAM, right? So which is the S adenosyl methionine. So this is your way to get that SAMe which your brain requires for modulating your mood. So definitely some kind of oyster, some kind of mussels, those, or clams could be one that you add in your food, and that will help with your requirements of B12, that will help in your requirements of zinc, and that will also have a good effect on managing your mood, right? So any questions for today? Like, do you guys have any questions for today? If you have questions, you can post it in the comments below. So the bottom line of today's session is that, try to incorporate a lot more spices and more seafood into your diet, when it comes to anxiety as well as depression, right? So spices really work well for depression. When we talked about anxiety, we talked about more fat consumption, right? We talked last week about, walnuts, we talked about almonds, we talked about green tea, we talked about things but that will help you calm down. So today are the things that are going to help stimulate, that are going to cut through all that fog and cut through all that inertia and help uplift your mood. And these are the things. So saffron was my number one. Saffron also comes as different capsules, but try to have it in food instead. Having carrots, having, turkey in place of different, like chicken or any other, animal protein could be an idea. Adding more seafood to your diet, omega 3s in seafood are always beneficial, but adding oysters or clams or mussels also gives you that extra vitamin B12 as well as zinc. That's going to be beneficial. So this is all for today. Next week's Wellness Wednesday, we are going to talk about another interesting topic. So, we are going to talk about psychobiotics. We are going to talk about the specific kind of probiotics that are going to help you with your mind and that really help modulate the neurotransmitters, right? So that's the session for next week. So till then, stay healthy, stay happy. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. If you want to set up your 15-minute free consultation, feel free to message me either here, or you can just click on my Instagram link and you can book your free 15-minute consultation with me. I do work with clients in Sarnia. I also see clients all over the world, whether you're based in UK or different parts of Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, US. I can see the clients that I've already seen a lot of clients internationally. So that's perfectly fine, right? So have a fantastic day, and I will see you soon next week for another session of Wellness Wednesday. Bye for now.